Ramsey Nijem here with the Coach and the Casual. I'm a retired UFC fighter, black belt coach, and current coaching the UFC, coaching local fighters, all the way to some casual fans. And here's our co-host, Kyle. He's a very casual fan, so we're going to get a little bit of his perspective. But, you know, I'm trying to connect more with people's perspective because I always think when I hear that casual perspective, it pisses me off.
Ramsey's a man of the people, which is really why I wanted to get together with him. You know, that's what people will always say about Ramsey. For me, as far as being a casual fan, I'd say I probably know more than most fighters. I mean, you've heard me talk about techniques and fights.
You might know more than most grandmothers.
Yeah.
Like, I know about as much as your grandmother. Oh, yes, I remember Chuck Liddell. He was on Dancing with the Stars.
He was such a handsome boy.
You remember when he was on Dancing with the Stars? He did pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, but
or Paige Van Zandt. Yeah.
Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah, that's the one you know because he's probably an OnlyFans member.
Conor McGregor.
Never heard of her.
That's deep lore. But yeah, that was really the impetus for why we did this thing is that you and me, we got linked up a while ago at when UFC came here to Salt Lake and a lot of those fighters were training at your gym. I remember, so I was throwing this big bad bet party and I was having a bunch of the UFC fighters come, and I was calling people to sell tables. I was calling local gyms, and Jessica calls you, and you're like, I think I'm supposed to be at that. Like, oh, and then you were like, yeah, I got Alex Pajera coming. Well, you didn't say Pajera, but I got Alex coming to my gym tonight.
Alex Piera.
Yeah, it's not Pierre.
That's how it's spelled, you know.
And Ramsey's still hooked on phonics, and a couple of the fighters. So we came down there, and that's kind of when we met, and it's kind of been a whirlwind romance since then, I think you'd say, right?
A little bit of a bromance.
There hasn't been that many days where we haven't been wrapped up in each other's arms. Would you say that?
Well, I mean, you said you wanted to learn how to fight, and I laughed at you because like
because you're like soft. A guy like you already should know how to fight. Look at you.
So we started training together. Then I realized you're the ultimate white belt. It just kind of cracks me up. I thought you were about to
call me the ultimate fighter. I was like, oh, what?
Oh, yeah, the ultimate white belt. And I'm the ultimate fighter. And then, so it's kind of you know, I enjoy someone that can talk shit to you. Or you can talk shit to them, they can handle it. A lot of people have a hard time handling it. That was like my thing. I like to talk shit. I like to make fun of people.
That's the thing is I've never met somebody who can talk so much shit and have so little backup on it.
Yeah,
but for a second there, I honestly thought you were about to compliment me, which would have been surprising. I was telling you the other day, because we roll just about every day, and you just beat the shit out of me. And I was like, I've never had lower self-confidence.
Good. You should have lower self-confidence.
Well, the thing is, when I first came in, I was like, okay, that guy's 135. I'll beat the shit out of him. And consistently, you're like, no. And then I went and rolled with him, and that guy beat the shit out of me. I was like, damn it.
Yeah. My 135-pound local champ, amateur, he just turned 21.
Yeah. It's so crazy to me what... You know, because I'm a lot bigger.
You don't want to bring up the 50-year-old that beat you up? Or you want to...
Mike? That was on day 2 for me, though.
Day 2? I mean, he'll beat your ass again.
I could beat the shit out of Mike today.
Dude. He's just there with his, 3 kids, and he's like, could I beat up this old guy that walked in? And I was
3 kids were there, which means I didn't want to go ham on him.
Yeah. And then he's like, all right, sets his baby down the sides and continues to beat your ass.
He's rocking his baby as he's beating my ass.
And then you tap the pressure 4 times.
It wasn't the pressure.
Or tiredness. You tap the tiredness.
He had this incrable,
no, dude. And he's
switch to back. It was unbelievable. Oh, yeah, Mike, I'm not joking. I think he actually has a career.
And he's like, I didn't even warm up. And he's like, okay. And then he just
I also didn't warm up. I pulled a hammy on that one.
He's feeding his baby, and you're sitting there trying.
But that is insane. I mean, how many times do you get guys like me, big strong guys, thick necks, and coming in and thinking, I can just beat the shit out of this guy, and then just get wrecked.
Thick boy. I mean, that's a really common thing. I mean, it happens all the time. Why would you feel though? I want to know, sincerely, where in your head were you like, I'm gonna go in there and be able to beat up someone? Just did you think because he was older, or did you genuinely think you could beat him?
Yeah, well, because the thing is, as I go about my life, I generally try and pick on the elderly or women because it's like in the wild, they're the most susceptible. You can jump on them. But you look at an old guy. Or
Jordan, the champ. He's a skinny kid, but
yeah, but he's 135 pounds.
So you generally, how much do you weigh?
255 right now. 250.
Oh, I want to get a fucking scale.
Yeah, get
you're
one.
like 260, dude.
No, 255, 250.
I think you'd cut weight to make heavyweight right now.
I can't wait. 260. I genuinely,
265.
we were talking about this, but I genuinely think I could cut weight to 180.
Yeah, for sure.
2 weeks. You disagree? I've never weight cut before.
Yeah, bro.
I've never had a diet last longer than 3 days.
I think I challenge you with this show. Let's find a weight class that's like a hard weight, and I want you to do a real weight cut.
Okay, if I weight cut and fight, then you have to go enter into a fight at Fierce Fighting.
No.
Would you even be allowed to?
Yeah, you can do it.
If you were a professional, are you allowed to go back amateur or no?
No, it's not amateur. They're still professional fights. Like, think about it this. Like, Fierce is like a AAA league. Same with like LFA.
The Salt Lake Bees.
Yeah, and like Rodolfo, who came with Alex, he was an LFA champ. So then when the UFC needs someone, they called LFA and said, who at this weight do you have? And they go, and LFA does a good job. They let you out of your contract, right, to go to the UFC. So they made, and same with Fierce. Like, so there's some organizations that like,
they're built as feeder leagues.
Yeah, and like it's great because like LFA travels around, and if you get in there, you're a champ. Then you're
What's
on
LFA?
I don't know. It's
Legends Fighting.
I don't know what it stands for. Who knows? Hey, that's a Stover question. Who knows what it stands for?
Stover, find out what LFA
Yeah,
stands for.
LFA. Yeah. What does UFC stand for? You know?
But okay, so going then, we'll kind of switch over to current events. Then we can talk about the Fierce Fighting that we just went to, and you had a couple of your
yeah, like the local AAA thing, and I mean that one is so like they do like a couple different shows. They do like a big one, which was with pros, and then they do like a more like small local one. So that was like all amateurs at that one. So most of the people there are like, I mean, in my opinion, if you're an amateur, you should be like, you know, your early 20s, and then you want to go pro. It's not a sport like that you can just say, oh, I want to fucking go out there and try to fight. You know what I mean? And that's why I'm laughing. If you do fight, like, it's a lot different. And we actually saw that. Like, I had a lot of injuries that night. All three of my dudes got injured. And I wouldn't say, like, they weren't prepared, but it's just a different, like, one of them fought a kid that's, like, genuinely wants to be a UFC fighter. So he lives that life, you know? It's not...
So, but
hobbyist.
I mean, now I actually wonder though, why wouldn't, I mean, fighting sucks obviously, but if you're fighting, if you went and fought that level, you outclassed them like crazy. If you could find a fight there, why wouldn't you do it as just a tune-up? Or you would do it as a tune-up?
I mean, I just don't really want to fight
Yeah,
anymore.
I mean, fighting no matter what sucks.
Well, like, I think like my last fight, one thing that I was fighting Ben Saunders, and I dropped him, and when I was going up to like get the finish, I hesitated. And then then he kneed me in the face and dropped me, and then I ended up getting caught in a war. And I remember being in there, I'm like, what the fuck am I doing? This fucking sucks, man.
Right.
And then when that changed, I was like, oh, I'm done. And I was like, at that point,
this is such a small circuit. I mean, these guys not even close to your level.
yeah.
So you think you'd even get hurt if you stepped into one of these?
Yeah, and it's not even that. It's just like, I'm like kind of past it in my life. You know what I mean? Like, there's no urge to go out there and
desire to fight to get
like
hurt or to hurt someone.
Yeah, to hurt someone. And then that is the truth. Like, even like, let's say there's always a puncher's chance, and let's say I'm beat the shit out of someone, I might break a hand, which I've broken my hand almost every single fight. You know, my thumb, I've broken this like 5 times. I've broken all these bones in there. So like, to you see it like you think it's just go in there and just fight.
To me, it's like I'd go play soccer with 5-year-olds.
Yes, yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, like, even if you grew up, like, did you play any sports other than
football and soccer?
Well, I mean, you're a pussy, so football doesn't really count. Like, but it's like playing soccer with your homies. It's like, it's not like that. Like, you legitimately break shit. You know what I mean? It's pretty brutal. It's not a sport. Like, I know everyone's like, oh, it's a sport, and no, it's a fight, man.
That's interesting. It's an interesting because like when you say that, it'd be like, for me in my brain, it's you going to fight on this local circuit would be like me going and playing football against a bunch of peewees, you know?
Yeah.
But it's not the same because even in the act, you can get hurt by beating the shit out of them.
Yeah, and it's like, it would be like, you know, if I was a former NFL player and I wanted to go play like a local tackle league, you'd be murdering people, but you might like even dislocate your own shoulder.
You know, it's funny you say that too, is because like I had a big guy named Bryce. He's like 6'8". He's 400 pounds, monster, right? And we asked him if he wanted to go be in part of this league, and he's like, no, because they're just gonna try and hurt me. I'm big.
Yeah, and like, and And I don't know, man. It's just like
because everybody would love to be able to say that they knocked out a UFC fight or whatever.
yeah,
it is,
exactly.
You know?
And even then,
sense.
it's like it's got to be worth my time. Like I know what it takes.
Because you got to cut weight. You got to
cut weight. You got to run. You got to condition. Like I would have to like pay people to cover all my classes at the gym. Like my clients, I would have to like put all my privates off.
But like speaking of current events, I mean, Nate just fought Jake. From what I understand, he didn't train for that at all.
I know, but for $20 million, that's what pisses me off. I'm like, show the fuck up and train. You know what I mean? Like, and if someone's offering me that kind of money, I mean,
but what I'm saying is,
talks.
What I'm saying is, how much? We won't dwell on this point, but how much do you think you have to train to fight an amateur?
Yeah, I wouldn't really have to train much, you know, like those amateurs. It's a different league, bro. And it's like, and it's hard to say because these kids, they're like amateurs and they're 21. Like I grew up doing this shit. Like I was ready to go out of the womb. Like in my first sparring session, I was like 7 years old. Same with like a lot of these kids coming to the UFC. On the Contender Series, this guy just won, the Contender Series, the guy that lost, I forget his name, on Tuesday, and he still got the contract. Did you see that? I think, or maybe he didn't get the contract, but he got a war, and Dana showed up. He's like, we're going to pay you no, I think he gave him a contract. He's like, we're going to pay you your win and loss bonus. Yeah. Because you put on a war. And the kid's like, I've been dreaming about this since I was 13. I've been training since I was a little kid. So it's not like you can just, and like when he was an amateur, imagine what the fuck he did to other amateurs. He probably just went in there and just wrecked them. And like when I was coming up on the local circuit, it was such a bit different thing. Like I didn't just like beat people, like I ended their careers. Like I would break orbitals.
Well, that was one of the biggest things that
Checo?
Yeah, and did he get the contract?
I think so. I mean, it was a absolute war.
And he's the one that fought Rodolfo, our boy, right?
Oh, that was last week.
Oh no, that was May last week. That's what it was.
Rodolfo fought Talha.
Yeah.
I didn't see if they both got the contract.
No, I think just Rodolfo got the contract.
And LFA is Legacy Fighting Alliance.
I knew it.
Legacy.
I knew it.
You did know a Legacy, yeah. Legacy Fighting.
I said Legends.
Yeah.
But
you did say Legends. Ah,
Legends.
shit.
Yeah. So you know what I've noticed when I first came in, because even so, like you see kicks and you're like, that doesn't look that hard. You made me kick the bag first. Then you kicked my shin one time with your shin, and I couldn't walk out of that thing for like 4 days. I'm like, and then you tried to get me to do it later. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing that again. That just hurts.
Yeah.
And so that's what Aljamain just said about, because Bradley Martin's going around saying, he's that 260-pound guy. He's like, I could beat this, I could beat that. And Aljamain's like, you don't get it. Like my shin is made of rock. Like I've just been trained for my entire life. And for the record, when you were 7, I could have beat your ass with myself now. Anyway,
when I was a 7-year little baby, I would have come and fucking stuffed you. I would have beat your ass.
No, what I'm saying, me now.
It would be the same thing that happens now. I just toss you.
I'd say
like there is no difference.
I would say right now, there's not a single 7-year-old on the earth that could beat my ass. Is what
I bet there is. Dude. I bet there's some fucking kid in Dagestan. Yeah, it's a Dagestani kid, dude. Have you ever seen those videos of like 7-year-olds?
Bears.
They're like carrying each other and throwing. Like there's some Dagestan, and he might not get you in the beginning, but he won't stop until you're dead. And you'd be like, all right, I'm done.
He'll be dead first.
He'll be attacking you.
Be like Anakin Skywalker. I'll kill the younglings.
You would try, bro, but he would kill you, dude. And then this bear would come and get you.
Okay, so fierce fighting. So that was really my first. I mean, I've been to plenty of UFC fights live too, but this is the closest I think I've ever been to the action. One, a lot smaller cage.
Yeah.
What's the benefit or detriment of a smaller cage?
I think smaller cage is really like okay, so like what would be your game plan? You walked into a fight.
Run away. But
so then you want a big cage.
Bigger cage, yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? So
but I'd want, to be honest, I can't wrestle with anybody, so I probably just got to try and get the knockout in the first 2
So
seconds.
you would want a bigger cage.
Yeah. Why bigger to get the knockout? Wouldn't I want it smaller so he can't get away?
No, because then he'll force the grappling. So you need the space to knock someone out. You know what I mean? Like when you're throwing the punch. Like when we're holding the mitts, you know what I mean? Like when you're far away, remember I keep trying to get you to sit back, and then you can hear the snap compared to like when you're like trying to get in there. So like you would want a big cage. You know what I mean? For me, like I like a small cage because I like to get my hands on people.
They can't run away.
Yeah, they can't run away. But then it's like it all depends on who you are, who you're fighting, and then it becomes like like when you get to the UFC, it's at a point. It's not like this guy can't wrestle. It's like I'm better at these different aspects, so I'm gonna force that. But then like Aljamain Sterling. Like when Sterling.
Stop it.
Or what's his name? Sterling.
Golly.
Whatever is Funk
Master.
Funk Master. Like when he fought Sugar in that big cage, he got like shook eventually, and then he tried to rush. While if that was in a small cage, he just wants to get his hands on him, take him down, and Sugar likes all that space
Because he can back up.
Yeah, and then that's like also like why Sugar I think hates fighting the Contender Series and like the ones inside like the
Apex Center.
Yeah, the Apex Center ones, because that's a small cage, you know. And then you're seeing a lot of like Dagestanis now dominating because they put him in that small cage, and I'm like, these Dagestanis are like, they put him on those ones because no one knows who they are, and they're just like a filler.
Yeah.
And then, but then they get to dominate because they're in a small cage and grappling, you know.
So going to those fights, the first couple, it was like, it was a lot of fun. I mean, we were in there for like $100, all of us, or something like that. But it was just fun. Me and Deuce were just betting on the fights and everything, all $50 on this without even seeing them walk out. Yeah. We just look at their picture, like, all right, I got her, I got him. And the first couple of fights, it was like, oh, this seems so soft. But it's such levels to the thing, because then once we got to DJ's fight was like two gorillas running at each other. It was unbelievable. Just the amount of force of them running into it was like, holy shit.
And then those guys are 185.
Yeah, 185.
Like, that's what I'm saying. Like, that would be.
And to be honest, yeah, so it's funny you say that, 185, but in there, they look so big and strong.
I know. Like, that's like, those guys are even, 50 pounds or more. Like,
yeah, 75 pounds.
Yeah, 75 pounds less than you.
They look
dude.
big and strong.
Isn't that wild? So imagine what the dudes, I mean, like, you guys your size are just giant, dude. Giant. Heavyweights are just big, dude. They're just like literally giants.
Yeah, I ate dinner next to Derek Lewis, and he's like 6'3", just a monster.
Did you like get to talk to him and stand? Yeah. You shake his hand?
Because I bought him dinner. I bought their dinner because me and my wife were on our anniversary dinner, and it was at the table right next to them. So
then the UFC was in town.
And then I paid for the dinner. I was like, and it turned out that it was like 6 of them, right? And it was only $200.
Yeah.
And so mine and Andrea's dinner was like $270. I went over and they were like, "Oh, thanks, man." I was like, "Hey, man, I'm really disappointed in you guys. I was excited to tell my friends that I dropped 2 G's on Derek Lewis. You guys spent $200." Yeah. And they were all laughing.
Bro, and see, they just made it know, like, now you can't even take me out for that, Fucking, I'm like,
If I had told them beforehand, I'm sure they would have run it up.
Yeah, exactly. Actually, if you would have came up there, let me get your dinner.
Hell yeah. We'll take
hell yeah, dude. Yeah, we'll take some, yeah. What's your most expensive bottle of wine? Yeah. We don't drink wine, but fuck this dude.
I just pour it out for my
dad. They're just like staring you in the eyes, like you're like, oh.
And I'm like, I'm not gonna do it anymore. They beat my ass.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Like, hey, never mind. I'm not buying it anymore.
So there was only one girl fight that night. You didn't even watch it, but that one
I did see the finish.
You watched it later.
Yeah,
right?
I watched it later.
It was the brutal. One girl outclassed her. Huh? It almost felt like it seemed like. The one girl had kind of given up and was hoping to get knocked out at that point. Do you see that ever? Like where guys were like, dude, I'm done. I just want to pretend to get knocked out or something?
Yeah, I mean, that one, she didn't pretend. I mean, she was knocked out. She was, I mean, you saw that, right? Yeah. I saw the replay. But I mean, I don't know. Like you see that a little bit more maybe in the local amateurs, but.
Especially their debut.
Yeah, debuts and stuff like that. But like you start to see that weed out. Like I was telling a story to someone today about when I was like, or last night when I was my buddy Denver, who was actually coaching the girl that I got knocked out, and I was like, he was saying she had a really hard weight cut and like her body just started shutting down, and I told him the same thing. Like I had the same experience. I was fighting James Krause on The Ultimate Fighter, and I got sick like randomly the day before the fight, puked everything out. So I was like, my glycogen was just empty, you know what I mean, at this point. And I was in the fight, and he took me down in the beginning, which kind of won the fight. But then I was able to like come back and be able to put a lot of damage on him, take him down, beat him up on our feet. And then in the third round, I remember like timing a perfect double leg and hitting it perfect. And I was like driving him, and it looks like someone grabs me and threw me off because my legs just shut down. I fell down to the ground. He's on top of me trying to like hit me, and I'm just holding on like, fuck, and my legs are just not working. And I was like, oh, well, this is what and that's where I'm saying like fighters get is like on these local ones, they're like quitting when they're tired. Yeah. And they're like, oh, this is getting hard. But when you start to get to the next level, it's not about that. It's like about operating your machine. Like to us, it's no longer a like your body. You're like kind of emotionally detached from it. It's become like your race car at that point. And it's like, okay. And I held on to him while my legs kind of came back and I could start to feel them. They were kind of numb, but I was like, okay, I can move them again. Okay, well, how can I do this? I'm going to have to force grappling because I'm not going to stand up because my legs are jello, you know? So then I had to make the adjustments. But they're like on the local kids, you're like, come on, keep trying your fucking hardest.
because
You know
you're
what I
just
mean?
tired.
Yeah.
What's worse for a fighter?
Like in you, like, you know, when you fucking start practicing.
I've never quit before.
Dude, you don't even make a 5-minute round and you tap out to
We talked
exhaustion.
about that not in Jake's episode, the first one they got scrapped, so
Yeah.
the world still doesn't know about that one.
Yeah.
But what's worse for a fighter? What happened to Ramon? Because Ramon was fighting a good fight, and then his knee just breaks. I mean,
Yeah.
it ended up breaking. Or what happens to Ben, where it's just, I mean, mentally to you afterwards. And we can talk about both, but with Ramon, I mean, it looked like he was fighting a good fight. Even he had the guy going, and then his knee breaks. I mean, so mentally afterwards, you're like, damn, that's worse for me, or just getting beaten.
I think Ramon's is worse. You know what I mean? Like getting just beaten. And if I don't know, like some of my favorite, like that James Krause fight I was just talking about is one of my favorite fights because, you know, like we were talking about it afterwards. And in the third round, I got him in a bad position and I'm trying to finish it. And we're like drinking beers in the house, like laughing. He's like, I was like sitting there like, fuck, man, just let you finish me. And he's like, I can't. So he's like, I keep moving. You know what I mean? And like, we're laughing about it. And then like, so it was like a fun fight. Like, honestly, I had a good time doing it. As sick as that fucking sounds. But then, like, getting hurt would just suck because it would be like basically getting the fuck without coming, you know?
Oh, my gosh.
How is it fighting the guys in the house and then just hanging out with them right after?
Yeah, I mean, fighting the guys in the house and then, like, everyone always thinks it's going to be weird after, but I feel like at that point, like everyone's kind of there for the same reason. Like, you know what I mean?
Mutual respect.
Yeah, we're all, and then like even in the UFC, like before, now it's a lot more like locked down and secure as it's like gone to the next level. Like even like 5 years ago, they would let all the fighters come and they'd all hang out in the green room. And it was interesting. I was talking to some of the staff one time and they're saying they missed that part because you would see all the camaraderie or whatever. What's the word?
Camaraderie.
Camaraderie, yeah. With everybody like afterwards. And you'd see them all like coming together and they're like, it would be really cool because you'd see these guys literally try to kill each other. Then they'd be in the back like, hey man, that was a fucking good little trick you got there. Or like, you know what I mean?
How'd you do this move or how'd you do that move?
Yeah, or like, and even if they don't speak English, like after Court fought someone who wasn't speaking English, he was like, oh, very, you know, thank you. And it was like, just kind of like, it was kind of interesting. Yeah. And then one time I was back there after Court fought Sean Strickland and they had this like draw. It was a weird thing. And then they changed it where Strickland ended up beating Court McGee.
Yeah.
And then like, Court went to the hospital and I just went to the green room to eat. And then Strickland's back there just talking shit still to me. He's like, I'll keep fucking going. I'm like, I'll fight. And I was like, before anyone knew who the fuck he was, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? I was like, and then like the UFC staff's coming up like, hey, no fighting in the green room. And I was like, and I'm like sitting there with like Uriah. Like, I was like, I'm not trying to fight, man. I'm just trying to chill.
I'm just trying to get some baby carrots back.
Yeah, bro. I was like fucking eating ice cream and shit.
bars.
Yeah, like no, they used to.
You'd be like that one meme where Strickland's talking crap at you. You're like the monkey puppet that just keeps looking forward.
Yeah. I was like, dude. I mean, I was like, I'm down to fight, but I was like, this is not the place or time. Or
Plus, he was got an ass whipping.
yeah.
Okay, so with Ben's fight though, that one was rough to watch just because he kept taking damage. I mean, by the end of it, his face was just F. But I mean, he had a hell of a chin because that guy he was fighting just seemed so much thicker.
Yeah, you know, and that's another thing is the weight cutting, you know, and like at an amateur level, like a lot of guys are, I don't know if I want to cut this much. And then I actually just that night before that fight happened, I had a conversation with some guy named Carson Hardy or Carson something. He just fought in the PFL. He was the fierce champ. Went to PFL and then got taken down and submitted and choked out within like a minute. And he thought, you know, like, and all the local guys, they can't really do that to him. And he's too small. Like he's fighting at welterweight, but he's my size, you know, or I'm like actually a little bigger than him. So I was talking to him and he's like, well, I learned a valuable lesson. Like you got to cut weight. That's the price you have to pay I mean, like,
But when you're watching that fight with Ben, I mean, the other kid, I really like Ben. He's a nice guy. I've talked to him a little bit. But the other guy just seemed to be such a better striker. And Ben, presumably, is the better ground guy. He couldn't get him down.
yeah.
But when you're watching this guy kind of dismember your guy, what do you think as a coach? What do I need to tell Ben to do? Get him to the ground? Stay out of his range? What are you telling him?
And that's exactly what I told him. I said, you're getting kicked because you're sitting at the end of his range. So you need to be all the way out or all the way in. And then when you're all the way in, you need to just wrestle him. Just need to start taking him down and forcing the wrestling. But then again, wrestling is so strength-based. You know what I mean? Like even, I have to do it. Dude, I have to give you a fucking compliment. All right.
Can we get all three cameras on?
It hurts, dude. But like you're strong,
Good
you know,
looking.
because all that fucking, testosterone, TRT. But you are strong, so like as you learn, you're a lot to deal with people in jiu-jitsu. So like a more skilled guy that knows a lot of skills can get you, but you know, if you and a dude that's only been training a couple years, you actually make it a nightmare for him. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so like, imagine that, like both are even. The other, like, yeah, Ben was a better wrestler, but then they're like, the dude also has good wrestling defense and he was bigger and stronger. Yeah. And that's why you see like a Habib
he looked
cut
so
down
much
from
bigger.
Like 210 pounds.
So do you think this kid that was fighting maybe Stover, pull up that kid's name. But this kid
Jackson
Gray.
Jackson Gray, yeah.
Jackson Gray.
And he's good. Yeah.
Do you think
Shout out to you, kid.
Do you think he really cut then? Because he looks so damn big.
I mean, he looked like he walks around at 160, right?
So most people then they just, especially on the amateur level, don't commit to such a big cut. I mean, even Ben, he should be down at 120.
Yeah, I mean, he could even make 115 if there was that weight class. Oof. So he'd be a 25-pounder with 10 pounds of muscle on.
Yeah.
And that's a hard concept. He's like, it's already hard to cut to 25 for you. Or for him, he's like, I can't imagine putting on another 25. Even like Uros, you know, who I coached at the UFC, he moved up because he was having such a miserable cut. But I'm like, he won that fight because it was a war and toughness, but that dude was significantly bigger than him.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you saw that fight, like Uros got dropped and the dude just threw a right hand and just connected. It wasn't even the cleanest right hand, but he was just such a big dude. So like Uros has to put on muscle to be able to do that. But then sometimes your frame is your frame. You know, like I hate fucking cutting to 155. But then when I fought Ben Saunders at 170 and he's like 6'4" and he's like, hey, well, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is why I cut all this weight, dude. Yeah, you know what I mean?
What's the difference in coaching a guy on this amateur circuit versus coaching in the UFC? I mean, it's much higher levels of understanding if they're in such a big organization, right?
Yeah, it's like if you think about it, like coaching these local guys, I'm just basics.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like just trying to get them well-rounded and ready. And I don't even focus on their opponents. Like some coaches and any coaches out there that has an amateur fighter and you're like picking your fights, fuck you. You're a pussy. Agree. They should all just be fighting whoever at amateur. You know what I mean? It's all about experience. The best kid's going to show up, you know, and then when you start to get to pro, like with my pro, like Julian, he's undefeated. He'll be on the main stage coming up. He puts on great fights. We'll get him on here.
He's boxing in December, coming back on rehab.
Yeah, and he wants to box, and he's undefeated professional boxer, and he's undefeated professional MMA. And then when he was an amateur, he was like the state champ, all the local other champs. So he's like, the difference is like that, like how you're asking, like he was a different athlete. So these local kids, he just smashes. And even local pros, he just smashes local pros. And then once he gets to the next, and like with him, we're just always tightening things up and game planning. And then once he starts getting to the UFC, it's like, all right, we got to start focusing on the footwork patterns for this guy. You know what I mean? Compared to like coaching Pee-wee footballs, like this is how you run a football. You know what I mean? You hold it real tight. Like everyone already knows that. So at this point, it's like
reads
every time you see. And then like when I'm holding pads for a pro and they're getting ready for a pro, it's really boring. We just literally do the same sequence almost 45 minutes at a time. It's like, okay, this guy throws a big right hand, so I'm gonna jab, boom, and then you go pop, 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 pop. Yeah. Pop, 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 and you do it over and over again. So once you're actually in a fight, it becomes a trigger. It's no longer instinct. Like, you know, when we roll together, like you touch me here, I go here, here, and it's all just instinctual at that point. I'm sitting here doing like my books in my head, and you're like trying to survive and sweating, and I'm like, you know, I wonder, let's get to this.
I wonder if I should learn how to read sometime.
Yeah.
For the record, I could be Julian's ass. But
No, even one-handed right now.
what's his weight?
145.
Okay, I have
And it's-
110 pounds.
And he still has his right hand, his power hand. So he would knock you out. He did walk across.
That was the gnarly injury. Talk about how that happened.
Oh, dude, yeah. I wonder if we didn't have cameras there. He was just training with, and that's one of the challenges of this sport. When you want to spar, you're always trying to like get to that level, but you never want to cross it. And then him and this one kid were just going at it, and Julian was doing really well. And Alex Pereira was right there, and it was Pereira, and it was before his fight, and he was getting hyped up because Julian speaks Spanish and he speaks Portuguese, so they could like talk to each other, and Alex was like teaching him technique. So Alex felt
That'd
like
be so sick to learn from that.
dude, he learned, like he was teaching him his calf kick and stuff.
Yeah.
So then Pierre starts coaching Julian on the side while he's going, and he's like, Shama, Shama, which means like, fuck yeah. Like, because Julian's like, pop, pop, pop. And then Julian's getting hypey, and the other kid's getting tagged up. So then he just shoots this desperate, shot. And then Julian was fighting the
his arm out.
takedown and posted out, and then his elbow popped. And
Ooh.
yeah, and it was loud, and it was like, boom. And so he had to have a surgery, and he'll be back. And, that's why, like, it's crazy. That's why you do breakfalls every day. If you go to a jiu-jitsu gym that doesn't do breakfalls every day, you might get hurt, like seriously hurt. And you don't do them, so I'm worried for your safety.
Well, the thing is,
Like, you don't do any of the hard basics.
I would never. I always try to show up to class after warm-ups.
Yeah, you don't shrimp. Like, you can't even shrimp. Like,
I'll show up and you'll be like, nah, I'm not going to do shrimps right now. Well, I'll show up and you'll be like, well, you want to warm up? I'm like, nah, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, let's go.
But, like, here's my question, dude. And this is to a casual. Is, like, if you were going to fight, would you do, like, everything?
What do you mean?
Like, would you be in the weight room, hitting your runs, not cheating on your diet? Or would you be like,
The problem I've always had is that I've got like super ADHD, right? So
Yeah.
I'll do really good at the school project. There's nothing that does better for me than last minute panic, right? So the thing is, I do a great paper, but I'll write it the night before, right?
So you're the type of dude that cut all your weight at the end.
But that's the problem is that you can't do that in fighting because
That's like my fighter Dom. He does all like he's like a last minute dude. Dom. And
yeah.
he's a local fighter too, and he waits all of his last weight cut till the end, and then he's
It's
like.
just because I'm such a procrastinator, but then I do my best work.
But like, what about the fear of getting your ass kicked? Like, is that not enough?
But the thing is, I'd have to have it happen for me to ever be scared of it. You know what I mean? I've never had my ass whooped.
Let's call
I'm
Mike.
undefeated, undisputed.
We'll call Mike again. He'll pop your other ankle.
Dude, that was rough. The thing is, so you were telling me I was doing this rolling class with I was in jiu-jitsu class, and it was one of my first like group classes because I always just kind of do the thing with you. And you keep telling me how when you got the heel hook in, you'll start to pull back, and then you'll say, "Now you need to tap," and I won't feel it. And you're like, "Well, there's no nerve endings in the knee or in the ankle," which I'm sure is not medically accurate.
True.
Yeah.
I do train. I train a lot of doctors.
No
dude.
nerve endings in there.
Yeah.
So anyway, this
They're
little
too
guy,
scared of me to correct me because I might kick the fuck out of them. Like,
Oh, yeah,
don't correct
no
your
nerve
sensei.
But what does he fight at, Mike?
135.
Yeah, so this 135.
And professionally, he'd be a 25 pounder.
Okay, so what do you think he's walking around at? 150?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he gets me, and then he's got
More than 100 pounds on him.
Yeah, more. And he's got the heel, and he was beating my ass. He had a hard time getting me down. But once he got me down, I was in trouble. And then he gets the heel hook in, and I'm curious, right? Because I'm like, so I let him keep going. And I can almost I saw him look me in the eyes. I saw him look me in the eyes like, hey, man, you want me to stop? And I just let him keep going, and then he goes, crack, crack, on both me and him at the same time. I go, oh, shit.
Don't, coach. Don't.
And so then I didn't want to stand up because I was terrified it was broken. But he was like, oh, man, you think it's bad? And I'm like, no, man, I think it's okay. And I stood up, and I walked around, I hopped around. It still hurts, but he didn't break it because he's a pussy.
Yeah.
But he's got a fight coming up.
Yeah, he fights October 14th, which is like in a couple weeks. Yeah, and he's a monster. He's undefeated too. He's one of those kids that, like, as an amateur, if you weren't taking it serious and you came across him, you're getting seriously injured. It's not like he's not gonna like beat you up.
The thing is, then there's levels to it too because we watched him.
Stover, you've sparred with him at the gym, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't play, right?
Nah, he was being nice to me, but it was go. Like, we were going. And
Well, he went with Ashton,
tough.
though, and Ashton kind of pieced him up. Is Ashton just a lot bigger?
Yeah, Ashton's a lot bigger, and then Ashton's really good too.
Yeah.
Like, so these kids are like all really good up and comers, young killers that are like ready to go. And like it's a lot different, like size wise. You know what I mean? That makes because they're both blue belts, damn near purple belt. Probably should be purple belts, but I just make people really earn them at our gym. High level locals that they'll be like, even if they were both pro, they would be top pros in the state.
Okay.
So then like size matters. And you saw that, like skill wise, they're both about.
Ashton's big. He doesn't want to fight yet, huh?
Yeah. He said eventually he'll fight, but.
We've got 10 there. Why don't we get into fights coming up, bets and different things we got going there?
What's the odds for the Islam Charles Oliveira fight?
When is that fight? This Saturday?
No, it's October 21st, and
is that the next UFC event?
Yeah,
yes.
The next
big hiatus.
Yeah, well, it's the this is like the first last week or the week before was the first week that they had that didn't have a UFC event on a Saturday.
I wonder
it was kind of weird. I was like,
what's up with the hiatus?
Like, should I go now like play with my wife and child, I guess? Like
Islam's almost a 3-1 favorite.
3-1 favorite?
Yeah.
He's so strong though, dude.
Who are you gonna take though? Can you not resist those odds though, right?
Well, yeah, Islam's gonna beat his ass.
But like, let's say on your bet, like, what's your bet gonna be?
Yeah. How much would I put on Islam?
Yeah.
$1,000.
1,000.
But
He's the 3-1 favorite, right?
Well, minus 340. So
yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, so that means $1,000 only makes me $300.
Yeah. I would almost put Oliveira.
by submission though, for Islam, it's probably closer to even money.
Yeah.
Well, that's how he's gonna beat him. It's gonna be a submission.
I know. I would only take like Islam in a bunch of like parlays. You know what I mean? Like I would put him in a parlay because that's a pretty guarantee, but it's not worth straight money. You know what I mean?
To be honest though, they usually UFC. I mean, the betting odds. I mean, football can be all over the place. They get it wrong, but with fighters,
it's spot
It's
on,
hard to not be a dog.
Well,
I mean, it's hard for a dog to win.
They had
but Oliveira's a good dog.
They had Strickland at like plus 600.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, that's what
But
I'm saying.
everybody knew that. I mean,
But that's a dog, and that's what I'm saying. Oliveira is a dog. I think if it goes late, like 4th and 5th round, Oliveira.
Islam's just going to get his hands on him.
But I don't know. I think Oliveira I don't know. He was weird his last fight. Like he came out, I think he just thought he was just going to win that, you know what I mean? So I think it's going to be a better fight. Islam's for sure, I think, still going to beat him, you know what I mean? But I don't think it's going to be quite.
Well, you got to think about it like this, right? It's like
a 3-1.
You've got better striking than me, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but the second I get my hands on you, you're in trouble. Now, it's like, I drop you.
No, and like that's what I'm saying. But Oliveira was like I think he was like trying to prove that his jiu-jitsu's better than the Dagestani wrestling or something. You know what I mean?
And it wasn't.
And no, it's not. It's not. Not at all. Jiu-jitsu does not really work.
So you think he stands and tries to bang with him or what?
I think he tries to stand and bang with him, and I think that's a different fight. Islam wins the decision, like getting his takedowns, but I think
the second he gets him down, I don't think Charles is strong enough for him.
Yeah, that's the other thing. He's just not strong enough, you know.
Okay, who else is on that card, Stove? Next.
We got Paulo Costa versus Hamzat.
That's a good one, dude.
What are the odds on it, though?
Hamzat is minus 370. Costa's
Really?
plus 290.
Whoa, dude. I just think that's a good bet.
But Chimaev is so.
But remember, Burns.
Look at what he did to Kevin Lee.
But look what did
nothing.
Burns do to Chimaev? And Burns is a 55er that didn't want to cut anymore.
Yeah, but Chimaev is the wolf.
But Chimaev is a welterweight. Costa's a real middleweight.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Chimaev doesn't want to cut weight.
But the thing is, Chimaev's going to go to the ground. Costa doesn't like it on there. He got beat on the ground by Izzy.
No, he got dropped.
But then he was on top and they were wrestling around.
Yeah, but he was
like, so much stronger.
He was already unconscious at that point. You know what I mean? He's a legit black belt, dude.
In what? BJJ?
Yeah, BJJ.
I would have thought that he was more of a striker. He's so big.
No, he's a legit black belt, and his older brother is a really good black belt too. So like, they actually, out of a lot of gyms out of Brazil, he's one of my favorite jiu-jitsus that I actually like respect out of out of there. It's not some polo guard bullshit.
Well, do you
karate.
think then why did he lose to Izzy so bad? You think he just didn't take it seriously or what?
No, I think
Izzy's just an incredible
Izzy's
champ.
just Izzy's a terrible matchup for Costa every single time. He's too big and slow, and Izzy's too fast. You know what I mean?
Slow. Yeah, but Chimaev is fast.
Yes.
Look what he did to Kevin.
I know, but then it goes later, dude. I don't know those odds. But do you think Chimaev is a plus? What is it? 310
290 plus 290.
Chimaev's minus 370.
or 370? Do you think that's worth, dude?
I
That's
don't think
bigger than Islam and Oliveira, and I think Islam's a better favorite.
Yeah. And Oliveira's plus 265, so it's a little not like plus.
What's
I don't
Costa
know.
290? plus
Yeah.
290.
Yeah.
That's a tough one, dude. Because Costa's big.
Dude,
But
know.
Chimaev is so fast. He's a mon.
Bro, I'm putting money on Costa. I'll put like at least like $200 on that.
$200 at plus 290 gets you
Like
600.
almost 600. Yeah. That's a good, and then you lose. You're like, well, it was like worth the.
Ooh. Dude, you know, I put $300 on Nate to beat Jake.
I already
But
called
I'm
that.
just a
Dude.
degenerate. If I see a nice,
That's what I'm saying, dude. Costa's too good of an underdog for that. I think those are the two biggest fights, right? The rest of them are like
Yeah, you
a
got
bunch of.
you got the Russian Magomedov versus Johnny Walker.
Oh,
But
that's a good one.
there was a guy who I think he came to the house when you were on Ultimate Fighter. I think he was training Krause, Tim Elliott. He came
Oh,
to the
yeah,
house
yeah,
and
Tim
almost started
Elliott.
a fight that one time.
Oh yeah, dude.
I
He
remember
was
that.
wild, dude, and he just. I mean, he was really annoying. I'm not
Yeah.
gonna lie. Like everyone wanted to fight him, and
He seemed super annoying
And
on
then
the show.
even it was funny because I fought Julian Lane on that, and he was like,
Want to bang, bro?
"Yeah, let me bang."
Let me bang. Let me
Me and
bang.
Julian became best friends after that. Actually, he's the coolest motherfucker in that whole house. So then Tim Elliott was just being annoying, like throwing shit at us while we're in the hot tub.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just trying to get like a reaction.
Was the short little guy?
Yeah, trying to get a reaction out of all of us. And then the best part is Julian Lane is like, you want a reaction? You about to get one. And he got up. He's like, I'm gonna fucking kill it. And then he starts trying, and everyone keeps trying to break it up. And then, but most of the fighters, like the first season, we were all like younger, but the second season was redemption. And we're all like, our soul's been sucked out of our assholes by this world. So we're like a lot more like, let them fight. And we're all just sitting there watching it. And so the producers all come out of the back because you're not allowed to fight out of it. And they're like, don't fight, no fighting. And we're like sitting there, and Julian like, let me bang, bro. And then Tim Elliott's still running his mouth, and they're like, get the fuck out of here, Tim. Like, James, take your friend out of here. And then Julian like was like, fuck this. And he starts charging him to beat his ass. And the little, what's his name? Gary, he's a small little producer. He's trying to stop it.
No, you baited him. You told him, are you gonna let him say that to you, bro?
Yeah, okay, all right. Me and so then another dude I fought on there, Justin. What's his last name? Justin. I just drew a blank, but me and him were always like, we'd always entice people to like fight, and we're like, are you gonna really let him disrespect all of us, like this house, like that? Just come into our house, and then he's like, fuck no, he's like, let me bang, bro, and he starts charging, and then literally at that moment, the producer like tries to stop him, and right in front of me and Justin, who's like also a big fighter, we're sitting on these stools, and he just tears his groin like in front of us, and he falls down and doesn't stop because Julian Lane's a big strong dude. He doesn't stop him. He looks up, he's like, fuck you, Ramsey, why didn't you stop him? I'm like, he's a grown ass dude, man, let him fucking fight, dude. Who's he fighting, dude? Tim Elliott.
Oh, he's fighting.
Some Russian, right?
Yeah, Muhammad Makaev. He's English.
Oh, really? From England?
I think it's English.
What's?
Sounds English.
No, he's
Is that old?
Yeah,
English?
England, yeah.
Do you think that's
Muhammad Makaev.
Where's he from?
He's team KHK MMA team from England. His last fight was against Philho
Oh,
Jaffel.
Do you think that's like?
Yeah.
Do you think that's like an old English name, like America has the Rockefellers? Do you
I think Tim wins off of
Muhammad
wrestling.
Makaev?
Yeah,
Tim's underdog.
is he an underdog?
Yeah,
What's,
plus 350. And
but
then
yeah,
Muhammad's minus 552.
Bet on Tim. He's wait what?
Minus 552. The guy he's fighting.
But I mean, I just don't like to bet on Tim because he's
Nah,
so
I wouldn't.
up and down. Like sometimes, and then when he wins, it's always ugly, and you're kind of like that. You know what I mean? Like, what's the bets on the Johnny Walker and
So Magomed Ankalev.
the redhead?
Yes.
He's the redheaded.
Light heavyweight.
That sounds
He's a
accurate, bro.
favorite at minus 360. And Johnny Walker's plus 280.
Yeah, but Johnny Walker's gonna get smashed, bro.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think he's just not a good fighter?
Well, I mean, it's just like he's got a fun style, but when it comes to dealing with a Dagestani wrestler, like, what's he gonna do?
What my take on it is that I think the sun has set on Dagestani wrestling. I feel like they're just not them anymore.
Yeah. I think we're gonna watch on was it 294, right? And then because it's supposed to be Dagestan versus Brazil.
Brazil.
Yeah, and I mean like they really favored the
Except
Dagestani.
Chimaev is from Chechnya.
Yeah.
Dude, but all those things, imagine coming from Eastern Bloc, your life is just harder.
But Chechnya is still the Dagestani mountains. They're still our Caucasus. They're all from the Caucasus mountains.
That's the thing, dude, is like
versus Brazil.
I was talking with you, talking with Jake, but coming from these hard places, I mean, even Brazil, you got all these. That's why it's interesting to see all these American champions now, because you get all these guys coming from just the slums where fighting is the only option. You know?
Yeah. Well, like, I mean, like, if you're from the favela, like, how much fucking meat did you eat growing up? You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, I've lost to dudes from the favelas, and they were juiced out of their gill. That Diego kid, he was Diego Fiera. He was juiced out of his gills, but
Diego Luna.
No, Carlos Diego, or I think he changed his name. I don't know. Yeah, it's Diego Fiera. He's like number 10 at lightweight or whatever. Okay. And like, I just felt so much stronger than him. But I mean, he got popped. But that's, I feel like, why I lost. But like, but these Dagestani guys, they actually eat like meat, all of them. Like, even if they're from these like, like countries, they're like eating full meat like that they grew in their backyard.
Yeah, but Jake is a vegetarian, so meat can't be that much.
Yeah, it can't be that big. Yeah, it can't be that big of a difference. No, but it is.
Okay, so give your final prediction. We'll wrap up here, but your final prediction: Oliveira versus Islam.
I think it's going to be a night. I think it's going to be a night for the Caucasus Mountains. I think the only Brazilian I would actually bet on would be Costa, but I still like.
I think Costa's going to lose. Chimaev is just so.
So like I would bet a separate bet on Costa, like maybe $200-$300, maybe even $5. It depends,
depends how the alcohol's hitting.
Yeah. Depends how the alcohol's hitting. And then I would do a straight up giant parlay, all the Russians,
all the people from there. Okay,
and like maybe even like, I would do like I wouldn't bet on the Tim Elliott one just because you never know. Like I would just, and that dude's not from Russia, but I would do
Johnny losing.
Yeah, I would choose all the Caucasus dudes.
Okay.
What about you? What's your bet?
I think Islam's going to beat the hell out of him.
Well, you're going to bet on him?
Yeah, I'll bet on Islam. That's an easy one.
But like, if $1,000 you only win, like.
Okay, stop trying to get me to clean myself out. You just want me to lose?
No, I was just saying.
You're trying to lull me into a false sense of security.
Put a parlay on the wrong
dude. Yeah, I'll parlay.
Okay.
Okay, then that's a hard one, dude, because I would love for Paulo, because Paulo's so damn funny.
I love Paulo,
He's funny. But Chimaev is he's a monster. He's scary.
But I mean, like, remember Burns got him tired, dude.
Yeah, but he's evolved since then. It's like Izzy fighting Gastelum and then moving on and fighting Bobby Knuckles.
But also too, Chimaev's been out for a long time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Resting up. Resting up.
I mean, I'm not betting.
Paulo hasn't fought in a while. The last person he fought was Luke.
True. Here.
Yeah.
The first UFC here.
Fought Luke.
That was a while ago.
Yeah, it's been a while. So I would take. Dude. Honestly, my heart says Paulo. I think Chimaev is so good, but
Dude, well, that's why I was like a straight parlay with all the Caucasus Mountain guys, because like that's your guarantee more, and then the Paulo Costa is a side bet for fun.
And that's what I've come to realize about you. You're a big fan of the Caucasus, and so that does make sense to me. All right.
Well, when you have a big Caucasus, you'll understand,
one day.
Yeah.
So that'll wrap it. Today is our first episode. Next week we got Jake Shields. We got some exciting stuff coming, guys. But find us everywhere. Follow us on the podcast here. Follow us on YouTube. And welcome to the Coach and the Casual.
Boom.
Thanks for tuning into the Coach and the Casual. Make sure to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, and share it with your friends. Thanks again.